Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tommy. I'm a human nutrition student and researcher at the university. My job in this type of videos is to synthesize what I learn in the classes at the university and I explain everything for you here for free. This is the public health series of videos and today we are going to talk about genetic epidemiology, lifestyle and health. So how our genetic and our lifestyle mainly will influence our health. So let's begin. In our life, in our lifestyle, we can have some accidents. These are unexpected events that create evident bodily harm. And of course, accidents happen to everyone. They can be repeated. They have a high cost. And unfortunately, the majority happen to women, and they can also be self-induced. We differentiate between three types of accidents: the traffic accidents, the work accidents, and the domestic accidents. Starting with traffic accidents, this one is the one that happens on the road. And we say that a person died because of a traffic accident when he or she is dead up to 30 days after the accident. The factors of traffic accidents are mainly people. 75 to 96% of cases are because of people. 7 to 12% are because of the place. 2 to 12% are because of the weather, the time. And only 1.5 to 8% are because of the vehicle. So vehicle, no problem here really, because people are the main factor. And this is what they teach you at driving school, that people are the main factor of traffic accident. Then work accidents. This is the one that happens at work or when arriving or leaving from work. And we say that the majority of work accidents happen to males in the manufacturing industry because they are more exposed to dangerous situations than office work, for example. And then domestic accidents. In Europe, there is an injury prevention program, and there is a statistic that 4 out of 100 people in Spain suffer domestic accidents. The age between 25 and 44 is the highest, and women lead from 45 and on. The majority of these accidents, domestic accidents, happen inside the house and because of randomness. And especially during holiday periods, this is only a coincidence because you pass more time at home rather than at work. Then in our life, our lifestyle can or cannot have drugs. Drugs are substances that act on the central nervous system. There are various concepts here to understand. There is the concept of abstinence and the concept of tolerance, and these have to do with the positive reinforcement, the dopamine reward circuit, and of course the relative threshold. This is for tolerance and the first two for abstinence. And then there is the concept of drug addiction and drug dependency. Addiction is impulse, which is short term, and dependency is for the long term. There is disintoxication and dehabituation. Disintoxication is stopping to consume that drug, and dehabituation is actually doing it. Disintoxication can be done for a detox, a week, and dehabituation is cutting the habit of doing it. Epidemiology. Worldwide, there is an increase in 22% of drugs, total drugs consumed. Cannabis 4x in the recent years, and 5.5% of population between 15 and 64 consume drugs. And then in Spain, tobacco and alcohol are the higher consumed one, and then cannabis, and then hypnosedatives. Talking about tobacco, it has high mobility and high mortality. And it is mainly consumed in the developed countries. That's where we find this data. Tobacco causes addiction because it relaxes, acting on the central nervous system. But the downside is that cancer will be a factor. Indeed, there is a 90% increase of lung cancer, 75% of mouth cancer, 35% of kidney cancer, and 15% of leukemia, plus other respiratory and cardiovascular diseases. The prevalence of tobacco is 32.3%, and of those, 57% are men between 25 and 34. which is the group with the highest consumption. Then we have alcohol. There are three types of drinkers: moderate drinker, habitual drinker, and excessive drinker. There is indeed no safe level of alcohol consumption, even if we say that there is a standard drinking unit and that man, as a limit, can consume 20 grams of alcohol per day, whereas women only 10 grams per day. 20 grams are like 1 pint of beer. Epidemiology. Very frequent, mostly beers and wine. So a lot of people drink alcohol. And people with most studies drink more. So people that go to university and have more studies indeed tend to drink more than the ones that don't have studies. Lasting effects of alcohol: memory loss, cognitive difficulties, alcoholic dementia, gastritis, gastrointestinal ulcer, and liver cirrhosis. It can also give us cancer, heart disease, and tolerance and withdrawal. Binge drinking. Binge drinking is to drink more than what we can process. For men, would be more than 5 glasses in 1 hour, and women more than 4 in 1 hour. That's a lot to process. Then moving on, we have nutrition and health. Food and health. So we have to differentiate between feeding and nutrition. Feeding is voluntary, so we feed ourselves, we choose what to eat. And nutrition is involuntary, so we digest and absorb those nutrients, but not voluntary. Japan has the highest life expectancy, whereas the Mediterranean is a good defense against cancer and cardiovascular diseases. So these are two philosophies of diet. The health problems, such as overweight, obesity, allergies, and intolerance, are mainly in the poor class. Because when you're broke, you cannot afford the foods that are healthier. So poor equals more obesity in general. Because the only food you can really buy is the rubbish food that costs very little, such as McDonald's and other fast foods. The diet for life. Well, I have done a video, an important video about this in my channel. It is in the health nutrition series of videos, and if you are more interested, you have everything explained in more detail in that video. Balanced diet. So here there are some tricks. It's not the same the recommended intake you should have and the real intake. Because here we say that the ones with higher income will eat high amounts of fruits and veggies and low amounts of soft drinks. And the reverse also happens. So if there is no money or little money, low amounts of fruits and veggies and high amounts of soft drinks. So again, people that are broke tend to eat more poorly, and therefore it's easier to develop obesity. Nutritional objective and nutritional target. They are not the same. The nutritional objective is, for example, how many calories and macros you need to eat in a day, whereas the nutritional target is exactly what are you going to eat to achieve the nutritional objective. So how much rice I put here. Recommended intakes, since they are not really a concrete thing, they become nutritional goals, and nutritional goals become dietary plans, so they are easier to follow. And these are, for example, the nutritional pyramids. Nutritional pyramids are created for the general population to reach those recommended intakes of nutrients. Moving on, we have physical exercise and health. The physical activity is every type of activity. The physical exercise is a session with a metabolic goal. So, for example, to burn 500 calories running. This is physical exercise. And then the physical form is the result of the physical activity, which indeed has the physical exercise inside. Then there is this thing called MET, the metabolic equivalent of task. This is basically how many calories per minute you burn during an activity. This is like when you are sitting in front of your computer at work, you burn, let's say, 2 calories per minute. And when you are running, you are burning 10 calories per minute. And then if you multiply that for the amount of time and your body weight in kilograms, you will get the calories you burn during the activity. and that is a more accurate way of calculating the energy expenditure to add to the basal metabolic rate of a person. And then there is a funny correlation, because when at work, the group of people with more education tends to be more sedentary. So they work from offices in front of computers, and they don't do really any sort of activity. Whereas in the free time, higher education means low sedentary and higher activities. And the reverse also happens. So if you have low education, you tend to have a work that is less sedentary, and during your free time, you're going to do an activity that is more sedentary. There is also the evaluation of physical activity, the IPAQs, and there are groups of energy expenditure that are maybe high, moderate, and low. These are the easiest way. The alternative to using the metabolic equivalent of task, you multiply your basal metabolic rate by one number, for example 1.3 if you are sedentary, or 1.8 if you are very, very active, and you get the energy expenditure of your group of people, more or less. And then last but not least, the genetic epidemiology and health. So there are some things you need to know before starting to understand what genetic epidemiology is. The genotype is the genetic code. The phenotype is the genetic expression, so what the code actually expresses. Then the concept of DNA, the concept of RNA, the gene, which is the unit that contains the information, the genetic code, which are a lot of genes together, the chromosomes, which are the best way to enroll the genetic code, and then the concept of mutation, which is a change in the genetic code because of an external or even an internal factor. Having that in mind, genetic epidemiology is the study of how the genes influence the population's health. An example is the lactose intolerance mutation. If you don't know, people that can tolerate lactose are actually mutated, because in reality the majority of population are not tolerant to lactose. They don't have that mutation. This is an example of mutation from an exterior factor of consuming milk with lactose as an adult for generations and generations. That will eventually make a change in the genetic code, so the individual can still produce lactase, which is the enzyme we need to divide lactose into galactose and glucose, to indeed be able of digesting lactose as an adult. You have to know that there are different types of studies, which are these ones: the karyotype, the array, the Sanger sequencing, the next generation sequencing, and the GWAS, which is a case control studies, similar to case control. Of course, apart from this example, there are others that determine the health of a population based on the genetic code of the people. Another one that comes to my mind is why some Africans become obese when they get to eat a Western diet. This is because of some genes they have that are more prone to preserve the energy they consume. The extra energy will go for fat creation because they are adapted to not eat daily, and therefore they need to preserve the energy they eat. This is only another example, but the most understandable is the lactose intolerance one. Okay, so that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you understood everything I said. There is this diagram in the description down below. Clicking the first link, you can download it for free. It's on my website. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this video to your friends and family. Thank you very much for watching again, and I see you in the next one. Ciao!